Do you want to learn how to make this? Alright, no problem, I got you. Let's get into it. Okay, I'm back with how to make pop-up jump scares part 2. No, it's not December. I have no idea what you're talking about. Alright, so first thing you're gonna want is obviously a hallway. So let's just do like a brick wall. Very, very simple hallway. So last video, I had a door right here, and something jump scared you when you got to the door. Instead, this time, you're going to be running through, and in the middle of all this, something is going to pop out at you and jump scare you. So this is our very, very simple hallway. Let's just pull out a floor. And this is just for tutorial sake. If you were actually making a map, once again, I would highly recommend making this look good. This looks pretty awful, but yeah. So this is going to be our hallway. So all we're going to do is copy this. Copy all of this. You want to make sure building as prop is off. And you're just going to copy all of this and bring it over to. So before anything, we got to have a character that jump scares us, because there's no point if there's no character that actually jump scares us. So you get the point. One of these guys is great for examples, because they're just, they're not really scary, they're more goofy, if anything. Like I said, if you're actually going to make a map, definitely make this look good, but for this example, we're just going to use a little scary dude. And I also recommend putting some props in the hallway, just so you can distinguish that it is an actual hallway in the dark. And by doing this, is very simple. If you already copied it, don't worry. You can just line this up perfectly. So now we have that. Let's get to work with the mechanics. So, essentially, for this example, I'm just going to place a spawn pad. I would recommend do this, I don't know, like midway through your horror map, because if you just do this very first time, people are going to be like, they're going to be estimating and expecting jump scares the entire time. So yeah, do this at some point in the middle. So what we're going to do is going to involve a Mutator Zone, a trigger, a teleporter, and a sequencer. First thing you want to do is set your trigger up. So just scale your trigger up. Once you have it enough where they can't avoid the trigger, you want to just put this on a channel. So I'm going to do one trigger transmit on. Make sure trigger sound, trigger VFX, and visible in game are all to disabled, and no. And do time to trigger for 1 if you're going to be running back and forth through this hallway again. Again, this is just an example. But if you're actually going to do this in a horror map, like the air zone, I recommend you switch this to only being used once. I would recommend moving the trigger back here. Move your character forward a little, so this way. He'll be off in the distance, and you can kind of see him just vaguely right out here, so he'll be right across there. Now that we have that, we can set up our first teleporter. So you'll appear right about here, and he'll be just a couple feet away from you. That way they'll give that perspective, and he won't just appear right in front of you for about 1 second, and you won't be able to see him. So of course we want to set up our teleporter. Teleport to when receiving from channel 1. It'll make sure all of this is invisible. Just set converse momentum to yes. Sound, play visual, basics. Just set that to no. Set both of these to none. Effect radius doesn't really matter, but for the tutorial purpose, it's easier to understand if I just put it to 5 tiles. So let's just go with that. Now here's where the Mutator Zone comes in, and this is vital for one thing only. Essentially what this is going to be doing is making it so that we cannot possibly move. As you can see, we have a movement multiplier. You want to set this to 0, and this will allow us to not move at all. Make sure enable VFX is off, and the rest of this is pretty much fine. Now that we have that, we want to set up one more thing. Essentially what we're going to be doing is messing with the sequencer. So you really want this to be looping none. You really want to set the tempo to fast. I'd recommend, because you just want this to pop up for like 1 or 2 seconds. If you don't want to allow just a bit more time like that, totally fine. And make sure, absolutely make sure that send player info on here is on. Otherwise this won't work. Essentially what's going to happen is, since I'm the one that triggered this pop-up jump scare, it's going to send my info, and therefore I will be teleported back. And now we want to have a sound effect. For this, I recommend taking out the actual music tile gallery. There's some really good creepy sound effects you can make with these. So yeah, let's go ahead and take a look. I recommend in the drum section, so that is over here, go all the way up. One of these right here. Perfect. So like, this is just a sound effect, keep that in mind. Just kind of spam them, and it will give you a really nice effect. Just listen to this. Hear how creepy that is? I just want to take a trigger again. Make it be at the end of this. You can have one trigger, transmit on channel 2, or any channel you want really. Make sure this is visible in game. Otherwise, the sequencer will not be able to recognize it. That's about all you need to do. Now, we want to set the sequencer to start when receiving from channel 1. So when we get teleported to here, it's going to start the sequence for about 1 second, and then it's going to teleport us back here, which leads on to the final thing. We need to set up one more teleporter. So we should teleport right about where our trigger was when we entered. So just place it like right there, that works. Teleport to when receiving from channel 2. And then that's just about it. There's just a couple more things you should do. I'm going to set my settings to be really dark. So like that, that's pretty good. See, there's a red light behind him, and you can barely see what it is. But it's just like this really creepy, ominous shadow. So yeah, that's pretty good right there. Alright, and if you did all that, it should work just fine. Let's start the game and watch our pop-up jump scare. So as you can see, I have my hallway right here. We're going to run into this. And it's going to pop up jump scare us. Here we go. As you can see, he pops up, and then we get transported right back to our hallway. Now, believe me, there is so much more you can do with pop-up jump scares. You can make them absolutely terrifying. And it's just an amazing scare factor that I definitely recommend you put in your horror maps. So yeah, if this helped you, then make sure to like the video and subscribe. And use code VEXFC in the item shop to support me and my efforts to make my maps. It's not easy at all. I put in a lot of work, so if you just put my code in, it really helps a lot. So thank you so much for watching. I hope this helped you with your horror maps. And yeah, more jump scare tutorials coming soon. Goodbye.